Hello everyone, welcome to the Film Recaps, and today I'm going to explain a science fiction action film called John Carter. Be ready for some spoilers ahead. On the peculiar planet known as Barsoom, there exist three major kingdoms: Helium, Zodanga, and the Tharks. For centuries, the kingdoms of Helium and Zodanga have been embroiled in a protracted war. Helium's military, adorned in blue cloaks, has been locked in combat with the forces of Zodanga, clad in red cloaks. The general of Zodanga, Sabthan, is approached by three individuals who claim to be messengers of God known as Therns. The leader of the Therns, Matei Shang, presents him with a mysterious blue weapon, asserting that he has been chosen by the goddess to receive it. The Therns decide to assist Zodanga in the ongoing war, wielding the power of a mysterious blue light called the Ninth Ray, which grants them superior strength compared to other beings on Barsoom. In another scene in New York City in 1881, a man named Edgar is summoned to New York City by his uncle, John Carter. Upon arriving at the station, Edgar is welcomed by John's butler, who escorts him to John's estate. The lawyer sadly informs Edgar of John's sudden demise and reveals that John has bequeathed his considerable wealth to Edgar. The lawyer leads the bewildered Edgar to John's mausoleum. Mysteriously, the door of the mausoleum can only be opened from the inside. The lawyer hands Edgar a personal diary of John, intended solely for Edgar to read. While the lawyer departs, Edgar begins reading the diary. The narrative unfolds by acknowledging that Edgar was the only one who believed John's fantastical stories in childhood, prompting John to share this particular tale with him. The story commences in post-Civil War Arizona, where John Carter, a former captain in the Confederate Army, searches for gold in caves. Powell, a Union colonel, requests John's assistance against the Apache for his U.S. cavalry soldiers. Resorting to abduction, Powell attempts to draft John as a soldier, but John, having no desire to resume military service, refuses to comply. Following multiple unsuccessful attempts to escape, John finally manages to break free by incapacitating a guard and stealing the colonel's horse. When the colonel and his men follow him, they encounter a mounted Apache war band, leading to a shootout between the colonel's group and the Apaches. Amidst the chaos, John attempts to flee, but the colonel sustains an injury during the skirmish. John assists the injured colonel and brings him near a cave. Upon entering, he lights a match, revealing a surprising sight. The cave's roof is adorned with a substantial amount of gold. Suddenly, a man emerges behind John. He is one of the Therns, the same group that accompanied Matei Shang. The colonel alerts John, leading to a confrontation with the mysterious man. John shoots the man, causing him to collapse onto the ground. When he approaches, the man murmurs the word Barsoom while staring at a peculiar medallion in his hands. John picks up the medallion and repeats the word, triggering a bright blue flash. When John opens his eyes, he finds himself in a strange desert. Attempting to walk, he discovers that he can seemingly float mid-air with every step. Confused, he practices walking in this new environment and reaches a nearby hill where he sees several eggs hatching. Suddenly, a large group of green creatures known as Tharks appears riding on gigantic beasts. The leader of the Tariks attacks John and forces her to make a huge leap. The others start firing, but cease upon their leader's command. He speaks in a different language and introduces himself as Tars Tarkus. John introduces himself as John Carter from Virginia, but Tarkus mistakenly interprets his name as Virginia. Tarkus asks John to jump like before, but he refuses and attacks him. The rest of the group injures John and takes him hostage. In another part of the same planet, Princess Deja of the city of Helium is practicing presenting a weapon she has designed to her father, the king of Helium. Deja has unraveled the secret of the Ninth Ray used by the Zodanga in their war efforts. However, when she demonstrates her weapon to the king, an individual secretly triggers a malfunction, causing it to explode. The king of Sabthan desires to marry Deja as a means to end the war, but she vehemently opposes this union. With their marriage, he becomes the Prince of Helium and gains the power to rule all of Barsoom. Meanwhile, the Tharks take John to their city and place him among the newly born infants. During the night, a female Thark named Sola administers a liquid to John, enabling him to comprehend the Thark language. He realizes that the medallion is with Tarkus, and without it he cannot return home. Right then, two battleships, the Helium and the Zodanga, appear in the sky engaged in a battle. The Tharks find entertainment in the war and place bets on the outcome. Princess Deja is fighting on one of the ships, attempting to control it, but she falls off in the process. Using his newfound jumping abilities, John saves the princess. He successfully alters the course of the battle, leading to Helium's victory, but their ship crashes. They find themselves with the Tharks, and Tarkus is impressed by John's abilities, appointing him as his right-hand man. Throughout the night, they engage in a conversation during which Deja reveals to John that they are on Mars, referred to as Barsoom in their language. John, taken aback, finds it hard to believe her and insists that he is from Earth. She in turn struggles to accept this revelation. Deja decides to take John to the Tharks Temple, an area restricted to humans, hoping to find answers on how people can traverse between worlds as John did. Sola, a kind Thark, pleads with them to stop as they proceed. Within the temple, Deja shows John a statue of the goddess Isis and deciphers some engraved markings. However, their exploration leads to their arrest by the Tharks, and they are sentenced to death for trespassing. Tarkus, a Thark leader, instructs others to leave him alone with the prisoners, intending to sever John's hands. In private, he discloses that he is Sola's father and does not wish for them to face Thark punishment. He hands John a medallion, urging him to go to the River Is to unravel the mystery of the goddess Isis and return to his world. When the Tharks check on them later, they discover Tarkus's betrayal, and Tarkus's rival, Talhajus, assumes leadership. They head toward the River Is, with Deja leading the way. However, Sola informs John that they are heading to the city of Helium, not the river. John confronts her about it, and it turns out that she was taking him to her city to use him as a soldier in the war. Disappointed, John asks Sola to lead the way and leaves Deja behind. She asserts that her actions were motivated by her wish to evade marriage with Sabthan. John requests Deja to accompany him to the river, and with no alternative, she agrees. They cross the River Is and reach a colossal inverted pyramid. John and Deja ascend to its summit, where they observe an unusual blue energy materializing on the ground. Deja recognizes it as the power of the Ninth Ray, the same energy she had fashioned into her weapon. They deduce that Carter's presence on Mars is likely the result of transmitting a copy of himself from Earth to Mars, facilitated by the Ninth Ray. Suddenly, an army of warhoons led by Matai Shang, the Thurn's leader, approaches. John valiantly instructs Deja and Sola to escape, while he confronts the warhoon army alone. The King of Helium dispatches his army to aid John, who triumphs over the warhoons, saving himself. Injured, John is taken to Helium. Deja meets her father and is furious to see Sabtan there. He has come with no weapon and soldiers to ask Deja to marry him and end the war, and reluctantly she agrees. Meanwhile, John rests in a chamber at the Helium Palace. A soldier appointed by Deja secretly takes him to her chamber. Deja asks John to go back to his home using the medallion. When the guards enter her chamber, John disappears. Deja thinks that he went back to the Earth, but he is hiding actually from the soldiers. As the city prepares for Sabthan and Deja's wedding, Matai Shang, disguised as a woman, captures John. Matai Shang surrounds him with Ninth Ray technology controlled via a wrist device. He then discloses to John, Sabthan intends to murder Deja and conquer Helium after their marriage. His true objective is to dominate all of Barsoom through Sabthan. Just as Matai Shang is about to kill John, an extraterrestrial creature that John had befriended earlier bites off Matai Shang's wrist device, setting John free. He hastily boards a flying craft to prevent their marriage, but lacking the skills to control the craft, he crashes near Thark territory. The Tharks imprison him along with Tarkus. Talhajus, now the Tharks' leader, places John and Tarkus in the company of formidable creatures known as the White Apes. John successfully defeats the apes in front of the entire population dominated by Thark. He challenges Talhajus to a fight and defeats him swiftly, earning the cheers of the Thark community. John convinces them to assist him in opposing Zodanga. The Thark army, led by John, marches towards wedding ceremony. When Sabtan sees John, he tries to kill Deja, but John intervenes in time. Once again, a skirmish breaks out between the soldiers of the two cities. However, the Tharks now align with Helium, leading to Zodanga's eventual defeat, and Matai Shang escapes with John's medallion. John decides to live with Deja on Mars and no longer seeks the lost medallion. John and Deja get married, and the crowd cheers for them. The following day, they find themselves on a balcony. Deja, leaving John outside, enters the room. Matai Shang suddenly appears, prompting John to engage in a futile attempt to fight him. However, Shang uses a medallion to transport John back to Earth. Upon awakening, John discovers himself covered in dust, his beard grown long, in the same cave. As he gazes at the remains of Colonel Powell, he realizes that a significant amount of time has elapsed on Earth while he was on Mars. He looks around for a medallion but doesn't find it. He has no way to go back. The gold embedded in the cave makes him wealthy, Aware that more medallions exist on Earth, he establishes a mining corporation and tirelessly seeks the medallion for the next decade. Eventually, his perseverance pays off as he stumbles upon one on a site. Though overjoyed, John is mindful of the Therns, who have been observing him closely. His body on the Earth must be protected when he goes to Mars, because any harm on it will cause him to die on both planets. That is why his mausoleum only opens from the inside. He had orchestrated his death to return back to Mars. John writes in the diary that he wants Edgar to protect his mausoleum from the Therns in turn of the wealth. Edgar is in shock after reading the diary. He proceeds to the mausoleum and attempts to open it using a secret password, Ned, the childhood nickname John had given him. As the doors to the mausoleum open, a Thern approaches Edgar. He had been spying on Edgar, waiting to kill John. Before any harm can be done to Edgar, an unknown person knocks out the Thern from behind. To Edgar's astonishment, his uncle stands before him. John takes the Thern's medallion. As it turns out, he had never found the medallion. All this, including his death, was faked to attract a Thern and acquire his medallion. He then entrusts Edgar with the ongoing protection of the mausoleum and goes inside. He lies on the bed with the medallion and recites the chants that will transport him back to Mars once again, to his wife Deja. Subscribe for more content like this. Also, enable notifications and drop a like to support the channel. Thanks for watching.